Hello, hello. I'm going to talk about performance anxiety. Somebody asked about performance anxiety. There are a few of us that are in rehearsals right now for a dance performance that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So I wanted to make a little video about performance anxiety and ways to work with it. And I have four main points that I'm going to make that I've made notes of here. So first things first. When you have a performance coming up, and this applies to anything that's like public facing and a little bit scary. So it could be you have an interview coming up, a job interview or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a performance. Preparation is the first thing. If you're anything like me, you spent most of high school getting very nervous and stressed about exams that were coming up, but not actually studying because studying made it too real. Or in my head, studying would make it too real and therefore would make it more stressful, right? So I wouldn't study, I wouldn't study, I wouldn't study, and I get more and more and more stressed. And then a couple of nights before the exam, I would cram. I would start cramming like a couple nights before, or even the night before, I would cram. And because I'm relatively smart, I got away with it and I usually got decent grades. But it fucked up my nervous system. It was not the way to go about it. And I know that there are people out there. I know I'm not alone in this, that, it's very hard to kind of like just do the thing. Um, but what I have taught myself over time is that if I just study like a little bit in advance, it shows my body, it shows my brain that actually, oh, yeah, I do feel a bit more prepared now. And it actually wasn't as scary to study as I thought it was going to be. So just like taking like bite size, even if it was just putting aside 5 minutes and going, okay, I'm going to just study this or rehearse this for 5 minutes. Um, that's really helpful. Another thing, especially with something new where you have to go to a new place, like say your interview that's coming up in a couple of weeks is in another town and you've never been to that town before and you have anxiety about the interview as a whole, start to break down what the anxiety is about. So, like for me, that would be very nerve-wracking going to a new town, driving to a new place where I'd never been before. So one thing that I found again over time is to, when I notice that, is to actually sit down at the computer, go onto Google Maps, map out my route. So that, and this could be like weeks before you actually go and do the thing. Map out my route. I can look on Google Earth, put the Earth filter on top and actually see what the neighborhood looks like where I'm going. I can see a picture of the building that I'm going to and just like have a picture of that in my head. I can look around at like what's the nearest parking because I have parking anxiety. So I want to know where I can park. So all of those things I can prep in advance, and that will help soothe some of the kind of beforehand anxiety in the lead up to something. Same thing for like performances that you have coming up, knowing and just like asking your choreographer, your director, whatever, like, what time do we need to be there? What exactly do I need to bring? These are questions that are totally fine to ask any reasonable choreographer or director, and they should be able to tell you, like, great question. This is your call time. If it hasn't already been given to you, this is your call time. This is what you will need to bring, all this stuff. So you can start making those preparations. So even if you still have anxiety around the actual performance, you can lessen the anxiety around all the attendant things. So that's my first little thing. Second thing is body prep in the run up to a performance or an interview or public speaking event or whatever it is you're nervous about. And the main number one thing is sleep. And this can be hard when we're nervous, but finding ways to help us get a decent night's sleep several nights in a row in the lead up to the lead up to anything scary can really help resource us. Without enough sleep, our bodies have trouble problem solving in the moment. Our brains have trouble with that in the moment. So the more sleep we can get, the better sleep we can get the easier it is for us to problem solve in the moment, to be flexible, to deal with curveballs on the day. Maybe there's a bit more traffic or something, like those things are much more easy to deal with when we're rested. So that's my number one thing. And of course, like water, exercise, cutting down on sugar and alcohol and other things that like depress your body, and doing more of things that uplift your body and your spirit, of course, are all helpful too. On the day, things like our body practices, like if you have a yoga practice that you do in the morning, if you go for a walk every morning, normally, do that day too. Don't skip it on your big day, right? Do the things that you do in the morning that help your body before coming up to your performance or your interview, things like heel drops that we've talked about in class, our body rub down that we do in class, things that will diffuse anxiety in the body. Those can be very helpful. Things that ground us. So anything to do with the feet, anything to do with diffusing and working on like the skin and that kind of stuff that we do in class, that's also going to be really helpful. And finally, here's the thing with performance anxiety. A lot of it's in the reframe. The same thing that happens when you're nervous in your body happens when you're excited. The same thing, just biologically, the same things happen. Our breathing gets quicker, our heart rate goes up, we sweat, or we get like the hairs stand on the end, in the back of our neck. These things are all, it's literally the same things happen in the body, whether we're excited or whether we're nervous. But the way that we experience them is very much based on our framing of the event. So if you know that this is something that you're going into where, it is something exciting, it's something that you've signed up to do, that you want to do, that your intuition is like on board with, like, yeah, we're doing this, then in all likelihood, what you're actually experiencing is not anxiety, but excitement. I will pay a caveat here. If you're going into something that you've maybe been coerced into or forced into, and your intuition is being like, I don't feel safe, this is not, then I want you to listen to that too, and maybe don't do the thing if you can. Just, don't do the thing at all, because I know that from in my experience, and I've worked with certain teachers who told me, you're just feeling excitement, you're not nervous. Actually, my intuition was like, get the fuck out of there, Rachel. And I had to learn how to distinguish between the two, right? But if you initially felt really excited by this thing, you want to do it, there's like, you're in a supportive group, it's an exciting moment, your intuition is on board, and you're just feeling those jitters, that's the time when we do the reframe, right? We get to change our mind around it. We get to say, hey, this is actually just excitement. I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited. And moving the body when we feel that excitement, moving it out is very important too. So doing that, warming up, obviously, very, very important, because it gets us into our body, gets us grounded. And then the thing that I've done, and probably one of the most important things, and I've done this many times when I've been performing, is to do my visualizations and get into trust. Because we can't stop our body from feeling necessarily. Like, we can work with it for sure. We can get more grounded, but that energy is still going to be there. And that's good. It's good that it's there. That adrenaline it's good. It should be there. So we don't want to try and get rid of that, right? We want to work with it. And so one of the things that I would do is I would allow that to be there. I would say, listen, if you're feeling vulnerable, if you're feeling excited, that's a good thing, because it'll shine out on stage. When we're vulnerable, we're out of our own way. Our light shines through, and it's a gift to the world, right? And I would get into visualization. And the way that I would do this before every performance, whenever I was performing in my performance years, was I would say this affirmation. It's from Florence Scovel Shinn, one of my favorite writers. And it goes thusly: in divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, this performance is complete. My perfect blank, my perfect blank, my perfect blank. And you choose what those three things are. It works as well for interviews. In divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, this interview is complete. My perfect. Da, 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 da. So for me, for a performance, dance performance, say, coming up, I would want to say something like, in divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, this performance is complete. My perfect performance, my perfect reception, my perfect audience. And I would say that over and over and over again. And as I do each one, I visualize myself in the performance where I say my perfect performance. I would visualize myself like doing all the steps right and like feeling great and feeling really confident. When I say my perfect reception, I would imagine the end of the performance, and I would imagine people clapping, and I would imagine going off stage and my friends being there and giving me big hugs and saying, wow, that was really great. I really enjoyed that. You guys were awesome. And I would just imagine that feeling and feel how that feels in my body, feel how that feels to be received so well. And then in this example, I've used audience as the third one, my perfect audience. And so I would imagine like the audience all being really open and friendly, because this is a big part of performance anxiety for a lot of people, is on some part of their brain is we're trying to protect us by telling us, usually subconsciously, that the audience are going to be judgmental or mean or say something bad to us or whatever, right? The scenario is. So this is an important one, is going into my perfect audience and imagining when you're just even walking out on stage, like that the audience is open, receptive, they want to be there, they want to see you, they want to support you, and they do. And just feeling how that feels. You can use this for interviews as well. In divine mind, there is only completion, therefore this interview is complete. My perfect answers given, my perfect reception, my perfect job offer. Whatever, you can change them up as well. So I would sometimes, even when I was doing the pre-performance affirmations, I would say them over and over again. I would get really specific. I'd be like, in divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, this performance is complete. My perfect costume, my perfect music, my perfect lighting. In divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, this performance is complete. My perfect choreography, my perfect breathing, my perfect interaction with the other dancers, and you can kind of, and then feel each one. And I would do this. I mean, I would do it up to 100 times on performance day, and I would be saying it to myself in the wings right before I went on stage. And it would really, really help. It wouldn't get rid of but it kind of like channeled it better. So just to recap, preparation, rehearse, study, look at your maps, ask questions about the day itself. Anything that you can do to quiet those little parts that are anxious. Body prep, sleep being the most important thing. And your daily practices, your walk, your yoga, your gym, whatever it is. Day of, your warm up, your heel drops, body rub down, stuff like that. Anything that you can do to help diffuse some of that stuff and just get it moving around the body, because emotions are there to be felt. Emotion, it's there to be felt and moved. There's movement in it. But if we pull it all inside, that's when it gets really hard to handle and exhausting, honestly. And then last but not least, the reframe. So getting into trust and visualizing and feeling from those visualizations. That's, for me, something that I've used for decades, and it works. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments any other ideas you have or things that you use, and if these are helpful to you.